In it here now, what are you gonna do now? I'm gonna bid on here now. Who bid $500,000 bid?
Welcome to the Legacy of Agriculture. This program will explore the past, present, and future of agriculture. We'll look at the people, products, and events that have formed its history. And now, with today's guest, your host, Chris Bear.
Good morning, everybody. This is Chris Bear, your host of the Legacy of Agriculture. We're broadcasting here on a beautiful spring morning in the spring of 2024. And I have reached out this week to Kyle McMahon at Tractor Zoom as my this week's guest. Kyle, thank you very much for joining me. I know that you just got in late last night from an airplane trip from back east. And thank you for joining me this morning.
Absolutely, Chris. Looking forward to the conversation today. Thanks for reaching out and hosting me.
For those of you that are unfamiliar with Kyle, Kyle is the founder and CEO of Tractor Zoom, which is an information website about auctioneers and dealers and equipment financing, and also recording of auction values. And there's just tremendous amount of information concerning equipment and equipment values on Tractor Zoom. Before we dive into that, Kyle, tell me a little bit about your background. Tell me how you were introduced into agriculture and what led you to Tractor Zoom.
Yeah, good question, because probably unlike a lot of your listeners, I didn't grow up on a farm. I grew up in a small town of Iowa called Fairfield, Iowa, southeast Iowa. So all of my friends were farmers. My folks are actually in manufacturing, and I had the pleasure of working on farms when I was young. I actually ran a lawn and landscape business in the town of Fairfield when I was younger. Ended up selling that in college, helping pay my way through college by selling that business to my other business partner. And I was in school at Iowa State for landscape architecture, wanting to build golf courses. I was a golfer growing up, but loved hunting and fishing and just the outdoors. I also want to get into real estate development. I realized that building golf courses was sitting a lot behind computers and AutoCAD and drawings. It wasn't for me. So I went and worked for a farmland private equity firm right out of school. And uniquely enough, our first land acquisition was buying an old depressed golf course and turning it into farmland. So I did the exact opposite of what I intended to do in school, but I loved every ounce of working in farmland private equity and just traveling all around the Midwest, meeting with auctioneers. I've actually been to more than 1,000 farmland auctions in my life. All Iowa, Illinois, Minnesota, the Dakotas, just traveling as much as we could, meeting people in agriculture. That's really what brought me into it. And the reason I started Tractor Zoom is because I wanted to start farming as a side hustle when I was working in the farmland private equity world, and quickly realized I had no idea what I should be paying for a Kinsey 3600 1223 inner plant. And, they're listed online for $30,000, $130,000. And I realized, okay, I know I'm new at this, but how does everybody else figure out how to pay, how to value these machines? I sat back and said, hey, we need to build Kelley Blue Book. And naturally, it started with, okay, well, nobody actually can find auctions online. Let's create the first online auction listing site that you can actually search. Stop thumbing through newspapers, stop thumbing through, auction flyers that are just posted online. Let's actually have a searchable database like dealers do in the auction side. So that, naturally, that started my curiosity into building Tractor Zoom what it is today.
What in the world possessed you to take a golf course and turn it into a piece of farmland? Did they think you were crazy?
The one question we always get is, what do you do with the sand traps? There might be some sand pockets on the farm, but it was really good soils, really good dirt, and it was a golf course in just a very interesting area. It made a lot more sense to be growing corn and soybeans back in 2014 than it did playing golf on it. Although the owner of the clubhouse got a really cool grill your own steaks in the bottom, then turn it into a house.
I'm going to tell you, that's one of the craziest stories I've ever heard, that a golf course, that farmland was worth more money than a golf course was.
Yep.
And that just blows my mind. I appreciate you sharing that with you. So you graduated from college with which degree?
A landscape architecture degree. So I did graduate with a landscape architecture degree, but I frankly haven't done anything with it other than a lot of learnings, a lot of good people I met in college.
So once you decided that you wanted to have a source for going out and searching for machinery values, how did that grow into what you've got?
Curiosity at its, I think at the core, just always wanting to build a better company for people to use. When we sit back and look at it, there are a lot of challenges, not only that I had as an individual, but before I even started Tractor Zoom, I talked to over 100 farmers, just learning how do you do what you do, what would make your life easier. And ultimately, our customers and users of Tractor Zoom are really what drives not only me, but the employees that we have here, figuring out how can we make agriculture, heavy equipment a better place than we found it. So that curiosity really drives a lot of it. But I tell you, the other thing is really great employees. So we've got 60 employees, and they wow me every day on where we can take the company. What I like to say is I may have started it, but a lot of the really, really great ideas come from the people that work here every day, day in and day out.
I was looking on your website at tractorzoom.com, and holy cow, you do have a good crew of people. You launched in 2017.
That's right.
So basically 7 years ago you launched, and when's your 8th birthday?
Our 7th birthday is going to be 7th birthday is going to come here in June of this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's great to hear. So when you started Tractor Zoom, did you start by yourself?
I did. I left my full-time job, farmland private equity, staying up late at night, learning what it's like to build software for 6 months. And then, so I worked from June until December before I hired my first full-time employee. So a lot of sleepless nights wondering what the heck am I doing? But again, the curiosity and determination of just go figure it out. Unlike a lot of, very similar to a lot of people in agriculture, you just have to go figure it out.
I just want you to know, Kyle, my head is still stuck, and I'm completely enamored by the idea of turning a golf course into farmland. So you grew up not far from Des Moines, then, is that correct?
Fairfield's about 2 hours southeast of Des Moines. Yep.
Southeast of Des Moines. Okay. All right. Not too far away then.
Our company is based in Des Moines now, though.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. I remember reading that. Well, so Kyle, tell us, as we're coming down to the end of the first segment of the Legacy of Agriculture, tell people how they can find Tractor Zoom and the best way to make connection with Tractor Zoom.
Yeah, go to tractorzoom.com to look at all of our online listings from over 700 auction companies and 1,700 dealers. The one thing that's really unique, that you can probably go to Tractor House, Machinery Pete, and go find all the other dealer listings. But the one truly unique piece that Tractor Zoom does that nobody else does, which was my core passion, you can go search all of the auction listings that are coming up. And my favorite feature on Tractor Zoom is you can save a search. Let's say you're looking for a John Deere 333G skid loader. Let's say you're looking for a 4020 John Deere. That's coming up.
Kyle, we're right down to the end of the first segment. I want you to hold that thought, and we're going to be right back in the second segment.
This is Kyle, equipment sales representative with Pfeiffer's Auction and Realty. Pfeiffer's is proud to provide the best seller experience around. From start to finish, our trained equipment representatives will make sure the right decisions are made to get the most money from your new or used equipment. We believe that knowledge is power, and our reps provide you with the current market estimates to help better understand machinery values. If you want to sell machinery, then nobody does it better.
Folks, we're back. I'm the host of the Legacy of Agriculture, Chris Bear. Kyle McMahon has joined us with Tractor Zoom, and we were just getting into a great conversation at the end of our first segment about some of the features of Tractor Zoom and some of the unique things that Tractor Zoom does. Kyle, you were right mid conversation about your search engine, so go ahead and carry that on through.
Yeah, the most unique thing about Tractor Zoom for the purpose of the listeners here today is being able to save a search if you're looking for inventory that's coming up at auction. Let's say you're looking for a specific tractor, make, model, in a certain hour range. You can save that search, and Tractor Zoom will actually notify you when that comes up for auction. So it's our intent of making sure you don't miss out on a tractor, an implement, a piece of machinery that comes up at auction that you may not know about. Also, at a dealer listing, as soon as it hits a dealer lot, it's in your inbox. As soon as that inventory comes online, you can go find that.
So if I'm looking for a Case International 535 quad track or a 9560 John Deere, once I save that search, on Tractor Zoom, 3 or 4 months down the road, if three of them pop up, I'll get notified. Is that correct?
Yep, if those three come up on the same day, you will instantly get notified that day that there's three quad tracks that just came up for sale, whether it's auction or dealer, however you want to look at that.
That's really neat. As I was looking through your website, one of the things that was absolutely intriguing to me was as explain your price predictions. What is price predictions and how does that work?
Yeah, that's something real. We use a lot of data at Tractor Zoom to help people value machinery. The main users of our valuations are dealers and banks, but we want to be able to give shoppers an understanding of what will something be predicted to sell for at auction. So you don't go into that auction totally blind of understanding, okay, I see what all the dealers have it listed online for. Maybe I'll just knock some dollars off because that's what it should sell for at auction. So we actually take data, create algorithms, and use various models to help us understand what does Tractor Zoom predict that machine will sell for at auction. So it gives somebody an understanding of what our data is showing in the auction market that machine will sell for at this upcoming auction.
Does it have to, in order for it to do your price prediction, does it have to be an active listing, or can I just put in the system John Deere 9600 combine or S670 combine and it'll predict it? Does it have to be an active listing?
So for that price prediction feature that you're talking about, it has to be an active listing with enough data so we feel confident of giving you an actual price prediction. However, on Tractor Zoom, you can create an account and you can actually go value your own inventory on Tractor Zoom. So we give a lightweight valuation assessment to any farmer that wants to go build out their entire inventory, and those values get updated monthly for you.
So where do you see, I know this is an elementary question, but where do you see the value in being able to do that? Good question.
Yeah, great question. So there's a variety of use cases of being able to value your inventory. Number one, if you're interested in buying or selling, you understand what your own inventory is worth, trying to figure out how to trade in. Or if you're buying something, making sure you're getting a fair deal from where you plan to purchase it. The other unique thing that we see people using our equipment list function to value their entire machinery. It could be for estate purposes that they're transitioning to the next generation, or it could be they want to update it for their insurance premiums, so they understand what their entire inventory is worth to make sure that is being updated from an insurance premium perspective, or even a bank loan balance sheet perspective.
So if I'm a banker and I have somebody that comes in, sits down, wants to borrow money from me, I could take your valuation process, take their entire machinery list, plug it in, and it would give me the information that I need to make a healthy, well-balanced loan. Would you say that?
That's exactly right. Over half the entire farm credit system across the entire United States uses our paid system to do that just that same thing. So they can update it every year and actually get a real understanding Um, you know, 15 years ago, loan officers at banks had a really good understanding of what equipment was worth. But now there's so much equipment. There's a lot of price volatility. Commodity prices drive, and inventory and interest rates drive equipment pricing. They let us be the professional where they can click refresh and get a fully updated balance sheet in a matter of seconds.
So I'm a huge proponent, since I make the majority of my living in the auction industry, I'm a huge proponent of boots on the ground. I'm a believer that when somebody calls me, like when Kyle McMahon calls me and says, "Hey, I've got a line of machinery that I want to sell," um, I like to go out and I like to look at it. I like to see it. I like to gather the information. But one of the things that's changing rapidly with the technology in the entire machinery industry and in the land industry is the use of artificial intelligence. And I was actually having a conversation yesterday with a very good friend of mine that said, when they're going out and doing valuations, a lot of times they're just using artificial intelligence to create a description on a combine. What's your feelings about that? I know that's a curveball question, but what's your feeling about artificial intelligence?
I'm a massive component of artificial intelligence, AI, machine learning, because it can drive automation and better decisions. So we have a full data science team at Tractor Zoom. That data science team helps with the price prediction piece that you're talking with, the equipment valuation perspective. And when we sit back and look at AI, it's not just to be cool and create cool AI technology, it's to actually drive actionable insights. So one of the really neat things that we do with AI as it relates to equipment valuations is we use that data and the AI components to help us understand what options on a machine are actually drive value, right? For example, let's say that you're looking to go buy a tractor that comes in two-wheel drive or a front wheel assist. That front wheel assist from the factory might have been a $10,000 option, let's say. We
Correct.
use AI to actually understand what is the used market willing to pay for that front wheel assist to actually drive value. And so those are really unique opportunities for us to take data, to manipulate data, to actually drive insights.
Are can you predict demand from artificial intelligence on, say, a two-wheel drive tractor versus a mechanical front-wheel drive tractor?
Um, Demand is a challenging thing, especially in a commodity driven market like agriculture, right? So there's a lot of other macroeconomic factors that change valuation. Demand is a very interesting one. So we're much more focused on the here and now, what's it worth today, where we're not being too cute and too prescriptive of what's the demand going to be in 3 months? What happens if it keeps raining and we can't get planted? Those are the things that
Right.
we haven't been able to predict. Frankly, just not focused on just yet.
That's really interesting, because agriculture does change. I know that in the auction world, we live in a 90 to 120 day world, and actually online auctions can trim that down to about a 30 to 45 day window of value, and what's it worth today, what's it going to be worth in 45 days from now when it goes onto the auction block. That even that sometimes is very difficult to try to determine. So, folks, we're coming down to the end of our second segment. Kyle McMahon with Tractor Zoom is online this morning with us. And for more information about Tractor Zoom, if you're looking for information on the value of your equipment, go to tractorzoom.com. That's TRACTORZOOM. And we also want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Pifer Auction and Realty, for all of the online, or for all the live and online auctions that's coming in the spring, late spring of 2024 into the summer of 2024. Go to our website at pifers.com. That's PIFERS.com. Nobody does it better.
Hey, this is Jasmine with Pifer's Auction and Realty. Did you know that Pifer's has a construction consignment auction? That's right. We are currently accepting consignments to be sold on May 29th, starting at 9 a.m. If you have items that you would like to sell, call 605-836-2277 today. When it comes to auctions, go to Pfeiffer's. Nobody does it better.
Folks, we're back with Kyle McMahon of Tractor Zoom. Kyle, thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us. One of the things that I always like to talk about, and part of the foundation of the legacy of agriculture, is helping people in agriculture. Tell me how Tractor Zoom has been able to help either dealers or an auction company or individuals, farmers, value their equipment, and some of your success and your success stories.
Yeah, I could go into a lot of these. I think a couple that are pretty special to me were really early on in Tractor Zoom when we were really a nobody, and we'd convinced this auctioneer to list his equipment online. And he was a little resistant to it. He had the auction. While he was at the auction, he actually saw somebody in the crowd with a Tractor Zoom hat on, and that individual ended up buying 3 pieces at that auction, and went up to him afterwards. He goes, "Where'd you get that Tractor Zoom hat?" And he goes, "Well, I had actually met Kyle over at Tractor Zoom once upon a time, and he gave me this hat, and I actually found this hay equipment on Tractor Zoom yesterday, and I decided to come to the auction today to figure out if I could buy it, and looks like I did." That auctioneer called me, and he was so giddy. He goes, "Well, I'll be darned, it actually does work. People are on your website, and they actually saw it." And so that was one of the very first kind of aha or really rewarding things for me. And everybody in the office are high fiving, like, we're doing our job. It's actually working, right?
Right.
And then the other one was really later in our this is just a couple years ago, so call it 5 years into our business. We had a dealer that was really struggling with how they looked at the market, the volatility in equipment prices during COVID, the inventory challenges, the rising interest rates. And he's been doing used equipment for 25 years. And he's always used his own sold history and his own gut to get deals done. But now farmers were coming in looking at trade deals saying, well, somebody else will pay me more. There's a lot more online competition. Auctions were going on, low inventory times. And at this time, we had been working really, really hard on our equipment pricing, valuations, and data side of the business. And this used equipment manager at a dealership over on the East Coast called us up, and he goes, "All right, you guys have been hounding me for months to subscribe to your software and get this to start using it more intently." At the end of the year, he did an analysis, and we made his business 18% more profitable just by using data. So he said, "Okay, I'm going to quit using my gut, and I'm going to trust the system. I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to trust the data and how it operates." And when we got that testimonial, that was really the proof is in the pudding of how people can use data. I relate that not only to dealers, but all the way across the value stream within agriculture, right? If we keep using our gut to make decisions, we will have the same outcome that we always have. If we lean in on data, which a lot of progressive farmers continually do, there's a lot of data out there. If we continue to lean in on that data, so maybe this is the younger generation, the 33-year-old Kyle's talking, right, Chris? Really leaning in on the data and understanding how that can help you make decisions, not only on your farm, but buying and selling equipment. How do you use that data across the farm to make better decisions? And then ultimately, when AI does come into play, how are you starting to lean in on AI? Why does it matter? How should it help you? Ultimately, the whole end goal for us is more money in the pockets of the people using that data. We're very, very bullish on that.
So I'm going to air some dirty laundry, Kyle. I can remember very well 20 plus years ago when simulcast bidding started. And it happened as cell phones were becoming, more cell phone towers were being built. And we were able to, in the auction industry, allow people to bid remotely from their computers through their cell phones and bid simulcast. And then I remember very, very vividly 15 years ago, I got a telephone call from a friend of mine that I had been in the auction industry with for a long time. And he was telling me about the online auctions and how these online auctions work, and was wondering if I would come to work for him on the selling the concept of online auctions. And I said, I don't know. I says, this is crazy talk. I says, this will never work. Online auctions will never work. But I was old school. I mean, I was born and cut my teeth when we had tear tabs at the auctions and everything was done manually. And virtually no computer programs whatsoever. But one of the things that I did before I told him absolutely not, I says, you know what? Give me 20 customers that have bought online and their telephone numbers, and I want to call them, because I'm not going to change my career for something that I have to believe in it, right?
Yep.
And he did. He gave me 20 people, and I called those people. And the interesting thing that I learned from those conversations was that people were very interested in it, and it was a huge time consaving component for them. And as technology has changed, and as it's gotten really good, I am still 100% firm believer in the live auction process, but the online platform and the simulcast platform has become perfected, or becoming better. I wouldn't say perfected, but becoming better and better because of the use of technology. So we're getting down to about a minute and a half, and I want you to chime in, Kyle, and tell me what your crystal ball says about technology and the future of the implement business and technology.
Yeah, I mean, it'll continue to grow. I firmly believe agriculture is 5 to 10 years behind the automotive market in terms of technology. There's a lot of technology in the cab that people don't really realize, unless you're in it every day. When I sit back and look at the technology involved in the transaction process, buying and selling, it will continue to get streamlined. It will continue to have more informed data inside that sales process for not only the end buyer, but also that dealer or the auction company. Um, I still firmly believe in the live auction process. I mean, we represent over 700 auction companies marketing their auctions on TractorZoom. That's over 80% market share in just the United States. I'm still a firm believer in that. But what the online component has allowed us to in the auction business to really see is opening up that buyer pool to more of a national or global audience versus more local. That creates more competition. That's going to create the more urgency to use data inside of that process. And I think we'll just continue to see that evolve. Once that sale has happened online, I think what technology will really help us do is complete that settlement, complete that transaction, and get that tractor showing up on your yard on time when they said it would, in the condition that you expected it to be in.
I appreciate that, Kyle. We're going to be right back, folks, with our fourth segment.
This is Kyle, equipment sales representative with Pfeiffer's Auction and Realty. Pfeiffer's is proud to provide the best seller experience around. From start to finish, our trained equipment representatives will make sure the right decisions are made to get the most money from your new or used equipment. We believe that knowledge is power, and our reps provide you with the current market estimates to help better understand machinery values. If you want to sell machinery, then nobody does it better.
Folks, we're back with the fourth segment of the Legacy of Agriculture. I'm your host, Chris Bear. Kyle McMahon from TractorZoom is with me this morning, and thank you, Kyle, for your time. In our first three segments, we got a really good snapshot of technology, and I'm a huge technology buff. And in a lot of ways, my kids look at me when we talk about technology and they get this deer in the headlight look and they say, Dad, you're too old to really understand technology. You know that, right? And I always have to agree with them. Yeah, that is true, especially when it comes to my cell phone. So But one of the concerns that I have, Kyle, about artificial intelligence, and I talked about in one of my earlier segments about the use of artificial intelligence, is when I'm describing a $500,000 combine, um, one mistake in a description could change the value of that combine by 10%. It could affect the value of that combine by by a substantial amount of money. And at the end of the day, our job is to do everything that we can to get every single dollar for our client that we possibly can in a reasonable manner and in an honest and forthright manner. One of the challenges that I see with artificial intelligence, and I want to talk a little bit about our artificial intelligence, is that there are computer programs, and this is for our older listeners. There's programs out there that I can go in and I could say, give me the information on a Case International 310 mechanical front wheel drive tractor, and it will actually build a description in Word form about a lot of the features of that piece of equipment. But the problem is, and I go back to what I said in the third segment, is boots on the ground and people that really know and understand what they're looking at and really know and understand what a piece of equipment is worth. There's a lot of room for error there. What's your feeling about that, Kyle?
Yeah, I can kind of explain the good and the bad there. So what you're describing is using a public, probably open AI ChatGPT model that uses publicly available information across Google, just the normal internet, that allows you to build a description of how people have described that machine online. That's how that model is built. What you're describing is a critical flaw for niche markets. If you use very general information across the internet and expect it to be accurate for a highly specialized market like agriculture, it could fail. And to your point, it could fail in a larger way. And so I think we have to be careful and cautious of how we use AI and what applications that we have. On the flip side, if and this is kind of a shameless plug for Tractor Zoom, but this is something that we clearly recognize. If you can train those models using a lot of agriculture data that has been cleaned and that's for the purpose of ag equipment, you can influence those models to be way smarter. And so that's what we're really focused on, using industry data to train models to make better industry driven decisions here in ag equipment. The thing that we had the luxury of seeing is we understand those mechanical front wheel assist tractors versus a two-wheel drive tractor versus one with a PTO, not a PTO on a four-wheel drive tractor, whatever those options might be. We can actually use those to drive value and understand what are the critical components that you need to know on a specific machine that drives those values. And so it's really taking a more of a industry data set to train those models versus just using what ChatGPT and OpenAI make. So I want to caution the market of just using general AI, because those models, if they respond, they might hallucinate. They might say something that's totally inaccurate, but it'll show it like it's truth, right? So that I think it's being diligent, having the right guards around how you build AI in agriculture that truly matters.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. So you really can't take the professional out of AI. You completely 100% have to have somebody that knows and understand those niche markets. Is
Totally
that what
agree.
you're saying, Kyle?
Totally agree.
Because even gathering data like on getting a build code or build sheets on a piece
Yeah.
of equipment, the rep that goes and gets a build code from a dealership on a high dollar late model piece of equipment, they still have to go out and verify it. They still have to go out and make sure that the technology is still on that piece of equipment, that the options that are being offered on that piece of equipment are still on that piece of equipment, and they have to carry it all the way through to the end of the auction to make sure that the buyer is getting the value and or getting what he is bartering for in that process. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, totally. So, I challenge a lot of people here to go to, if you're familiar with AI models, go to ChatGPT and ask it what your specific machine's worth. Let's say you have an S680. What's my 2013 S680 with 2,000 engine hours and 1,500 step hours and four-wheel drive? Like, add in all those options that you think that matter. I'd encourage you to go try that and figure out what it says. What we've seen is it'll come back and say your combine is worth between $100,000 and $400,000. Great, not helpful.
Yeah, throw that out. Let's just start over again, right? So,
Right.
Kyle, we've got just a short 3 minutes left. And I want to go back out, and I want to tell everybody, if you're looking for equipment values or auction results, you want to go to tractorzoom.com. But Kyle, there's a lot of free information that's on your website, but there's also a subscription. So tell the good folks what your subscriptions do, how to get to your website, how to subscribe, how to log in.
So for the general farmer, the most beneficial thing that I think you can get out of our technology and services is going to tractorzoom.com to browse all of the upcoming auctions, all the machinery for sale. And you can also get valuations by going to what's my equipment worth, building out your own balance sheet for the purposes of updating your balance sheet for your banker, updating your insurance premiums, understanding what the true fair market value of that equipment is. If you're more of a professional that needs valuations on a daily basis, like equipment dealers, like financial institutions or insurance companies, that's where you'd go to tractorzoompro.com. And that's our full suite of solutions around inventory valuation and inventory management.
That sounds great. And if you want to go to the price predictions, which is, to me, is the low-lying fruit, then you can go in and participate in the price predictions and find out how accurate TractorZoom is with their price predictions. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. So we put price predictions on a lot of equipment that's coming up for auction. So if you go search for all the combines, let's say, or all the sprayers that are coming up for auction, you'll start to see price predictions pop up. When we're relatively confident, we'll show that, so you understand what we believe it'll come up, what it'll sell for at auction prior to that sale. It even allows you to vote, and you can start to see how other people are voting after you do, which is really unique because that helps us learn as well.
Kyle, thank you very much for your time. This has been a great conversation, and I definitely want to have you back on again. Folks, this is Chris Baird, The Legacy of Agriculture. For more information on our show and to listen to previous shows, you'll want to go to thelegacyofagriculture.com. We're also on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. You can go to any of those platforms to listen to the show again. Kyle, thank you very much for your time, and we'll definitely see you on the road.
That sounds great. Thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Kyle.
$500,000 bid.
We hope you've enjoyed today's edition of The Legacy of Agriculture with Chris Baer, sponsored by Pfeiffer's Auction, Realty, and Land Management. Call Pfeiffer's at 605-836-2277.